and it's not. I mean, there's all kinds of rules, and you can't say, I don't like those rules. I want to run around the bench because that way the guys can't tackle me, and I'm still in. No, wait, no. You can't play football with us if you're going to not follow the rules, right? Yeah. But prove the rules are the right rules. There's no such thing. It's just made up, right? And you can make up other rules and have a smaller field, so you can play in a smaller space. You can play flag football. Almost said the other way that you could say it, instead of flag. There's another way people talk about it. Okay, so Aquinas is right. You need faith and reason. For people that think you could just be, let's reason. Oh, what's the basis for any of your thinking here? Oh, well, 1 is a number. Prove it. That's like, what? 0 is a number. You can't prove that, by the way. As far as I understand it, you can't prove that 0 is a number. You either believe it or you don't. Remember, they didn't used to have 0. It was a new invention, relatively speaking. So, everything which exists either in itself or in something else. Otherwise it doesn't exist. What are you talking about? That which cannot be conceived through anything else must be conceived through itself. From a given definite cause, an effect necessarily follows. And on the other hand, if no definite cause be granted, it is impossible that an effect can follow. These are the rules for science, right? You might not believe them. A miracle, for example, if you believe in miracles, you won't believe in axiom number 3. Axiom 4, the knowledge of an effect depends on and involves the knowledge of a cause. That's what we're trying to figure out. This is a cause and effect. The young kid that died from measles in Texas died from measles? Or was he watching a TV show and his hero died? I don't know. What happened? Well, science would say, no, he died because of the measles. I suppose. I don't know anything about the case, actually. I don't know where that came from. Things which have nothing in common cannot be understood, the one by means of the other. The conception of the one does not involve the conception of the other. To some extent, we keep breaking this rule when we discover that, the reason you fell in love was because of chemistry. You're just sitting on the bench minding your own business, and a woman walked by. I'm suggesting that the person on the bench is male. And as the woman walked by, for some reason, you all of a sudden were very attracted to this person. Love on first sight or something, Now we know, pheromones. She was probably spreading pheromones. Women spread pheromones into the air. Males breathe the pheromones in. The receptors for pheromones are the highest up closest to the brain. Boom. Instant attraction. You all know that, right? Pheromones. You could buy them, by the way. You can buy pheromones. And they work. That's scary, isn't it? I thought I fell in love with you because of yourself. No, you fell in love with me because of this biochemical that I put on my face. Pardon? All right. Things which have nothing in common cannot be understood the one by means of the other. The conception of one does not involve the conception of the other. But 6, a true idea must correspond with its ideate or object. That's the correspondence theory of truth. And 7, if a thing can be conceived as non-existing, its essence does not involve existence. A unicorn, they don't really exist. So whatever we need for unicorns, they don't actually have to exist for us to talk about. Okay. So now that we have our axioms and we have our definitions, we can move on to propositions. And the first proposition, substance is by nature prior to its modifications. Before you can change something, you first have to have the something. That's pretty clear. This is clear from definitions 3 and 5. So you have proof for that. Proposition 2, two substances whose attributes are different have nothing in common. Well, that's what you mean by that, right? But we have proof. That's also evident from definition 3, for each must exist in itself and be conceived through itself. In other words, the conception of one does not imply the conception of the other. Proposition 3, things which have nothing in common cannot be one the cause of the other. We have proof for that. By the way, you see the letters QED there? That stands for quod erat demonstrandum, which is Latin for which was to be demonstrated. Right? When I was a kid, my intellectual hero was William F. Buckley Jr., and he frequently, on his firing line or whatever that show was, he used to lean his head back with that Oxfordian accent, Massachusetts really, and he'd say QED, looking down at the opponent, QED, as a proof. Just so I grew up with QED. It was kind of a neat thing. Proposition 4, two or more distinct things are distinguished one from the other, either by the difference of the attributes of the substances or by the difference of their modifications. So why would things be different, one thing from another? Well, because of their attributes, they're different. And we've got proof for that. Proposition 5, there cannot exist in the universe two or more substances having the same nature or attribute, because, well, they would be the same thing. If they're the same thing, they're not two different things. They're the same thing. One substance cannot be produced by another substance. If you're following the definitions here, they're totally separate from one another, right? I don't know what substances you might be talking about, though. And there's corollaries and proof. So, 7, existence belongs to the nature of substances. If they don't exist, well, they're not a substance. No problem, right? Proposition 8, every substance is necessarily infinite. Uh-oh. What are we talking about now? God again, right? The only substance actually has to be God. He's got explanations for that, because now you're getting theological for sure, right? Proposition 9, the more reality of or being a thing has, the greater the number of its attributes. Let me move quickly here so you can see the point where this is going. Each particular attribute of the one substance must be conceived through itself. And proposition 11, God, or substance, because now the theological definitions of these things that the scholastics have been playing with all these years ends up leading us through this method to understand that God and substance are one and the same thing, consisting of infinite attributes, of which each expresses eternal and infinite essentiality, necessarily exists. So this is essentially his ontological argument. If possible that God does not exist, then his essence does not involve existence, but this is absurd, therefore God necessarily exists. So this is his version of the ontological argument. And he's got another proof, etc. And so, proposition 12, no attribute of substance can be conceived from which it would follow that substance can be divided, because of the definition the scholastics have made of it. So therefore, substance absolutely infinite is indivisible. It's all one. The whole universe is all one thing. So proposition 14, besides God, no substance can be granted or conceived. In other words, the only thing that exists is God. So what's he doing? He's taking the theological definitions that the scholastics used and taking it to the logical conclusion that, well, but all the characteristics they've been giving to God to make God so absolutely, inconceivably, infinite, means that, well, anything else that exists would actually limit God, and there is no limit to God. So basically, by their definitions, God is the only thing that exists. So whatever is in God, and without God nothing can be or be conceived. Now, practically speaking, this is useless information, right? We have to be able to categorize things the way we always do. This isn't going to help us at all. You can see that it's actually the logical result of what theologians had been saying. But if you accept their definitions, well, God is the only thing that exists. Proof, besides God, no substance is granted or can be conceived. Nothing which is in itself and is conceived through itself, all of which is a requirement of substance. But substances and modes form the sum total of existence. Therefore, without God, nothing can be or be conceived. QED. So, what's the outcome of this? Now, remember, this is the ethics. And so what Spinoza, remember, Spinoza is that's actually fun. His name, remember we had a president a while back named Obama? Anybody remember? What was Obama's first name? Barak. Well, Baruch in Hebrew, Barak is Arabic. That means holy. In all those languages, right? So, same first name, Spinoza. The family, by the way, had lived in Spain or Portugal, but moved once because of the Inquisition and forcing Jewish families to become Christian, so their family moved to the Netherlands where they were safe because they were in between Lutheran Germany and Catholic France. So the Netherlands was kind of a very liberal place. He was born in the Netherlands, though. So, in any case, so his name is Baruch Spinoza, and he was in the synagogue, the school, the yeshiva, learning to read the Torah, and in fact, he was the brightest student the teacher was thrilled, thinking that this young man is the one that's going to replace me when I retire. What he didn't realize was Spinoza was even smarter than him. And he was learning all kinds of things and realizing that, Moses couldn't have been the one who wrote the Torah, because he talks about Moses in the Torah, in the past tense. Well, you can't write about yourself in the past tense. It's kind of... so he can